I used to believe family was like a home, solid, comforting, a shelter that stood firm when everything outside turned harsh. But that changed one bitter November evening as I stood outside the house I grew up in. The wind sliced through my coat like a quiet warning, and I saw it clearly for the first time. Some homes only look strong. They're made of glass, lovely, delicate, and prone to breaking the moment you lean on them too much. My children clung to me, their small hands wrapped around my fingers, their breath turning to mist in the evening chill. I knocked on the door. No answer. I didn't realize then that I'd already been erased from their story. My name is Luke, and what follows is the truth I've carried for far too long, a weight that's lived in my chest like a stone. When I finally stepped inside, the kitchen smelled like rosemary and regret. Sophie, my daughter, held onto my sleeve, her wide eyes taking in something unspoken. My son, Theo, carefully balanced a pecan pie I'd spent hours perfecting. His hands were clenched like he was afraid to drop more than just dessert. The table was dressed like a magazine spread, 10 places, polished cutlery, napkins folded like delicate sculptures. But not a single setting was meant for us. No high chair. No booster seat. No names. Just a perfect scene we weren't part of. My mother, Grace, stood at the sink, scrubbing a spotless pan. My father, Henry, stared out the window, his drink catching the last orange light of the day. My brother, Caleb, lounged on the couch, laughing sharply. His wife, Mara, hovered behind him, her forced smile fraying at the corners. "Happy Thanksgiving," I said. My voice felt thin, stretched tight. No one turned. Only my sister, Nora, the eternal diplomat, looked up with a tight-lipped smile. "Luke, we weren't sure you'd come." I blinked. "You invited me." She shrugged, wringing a dishcloth. "Caleb thought maybe you'd made other plans." Sophie tugged my coat. "Daddy, where do we sit?" I scanned the room again. 10 chairs. 10 plates. Nothing for us. It was subtle, but clear. "You're not welcome here." Nora cleared her throat. "We made a little table for the kids in the den. There's pizza. A movie. They'll love it." Theo's eyes met mine, quiet, unsure. He didn't protest. But I saw the question written all over his stillness. Why don't they want us? I settled them in the den. Paper plates. A cartoon on TV. Sophie's crayons rolled to the floor. Theo tucked a blanket across her legs with the precision of a boy trying to build a safe place out of nothing. I lingered. Straightened Sophie's curls. Pulled Theo's collar up. "When are we going back home?" he asked, his voice barely louder than the background hum. "Soon," I said. "Just not yet." Back in the kitchen, the air had shifted. Caleb's laughter was louder now, soaked in bourbon. Grace poured wine like it held the answers. I placed my casserole beside a tray of untouched hors d'oeuvres. The steam curled upward like a silent plea. "We might head out after dessert," I said, feeling the distance in the room. Nobody responded. Then Caleb lifted his glass with a smirk. "Always on the go, huh, Luke? That single dad grind." Mara giggled, sharp, awkward. "We get it. Lone wolf. Doing it all." It stung, light words, but they sliced deep. I straightened. My pulse a steady hammer. "Actually," I said, voice low but certain, "I need to say something." The room tensed. Mara's smile wavered. Nora slowly lowered her wine. Even Henry turned to look, his expression unreadable, like I disrupted something sacred. "I'm done," I said. Done carrying the weight for everyone. The late-night calls when bills piled up. Running errands for prescriptions. The loans I covered when Caleb's business fell apart. "I'm finished." Caleb scoffed and leaned back. "So what? Paying half a phone bill makes you the family savior." I met his stare. He hadn't paid rent on his own in years. Grace's hand paused mid-scrub. "We never asked for that," she said, voice soft but edged. The silence that followed felt final. I picked up Sophie's coat. Folded it over my arm. Theo appeared at the doorway, a crust of pizza in his hand. His eyes still asking. I nodded. It was time. We drove home through the first snow of the season, a soft layer of white covering the streets. The kids leaned against each other in the back seat. The car smelled like pie, and promises I'd finally learn to keep just for us. I cracked the window, letting the cold sting my skin. It woke me up to a truth I'd avoided for years. I wasn't family anymore. I was scaffolding, used when the structure was unstable, discarded once the storm passed. The calls started a few days later. Nora was first, voicemails stacking up like unopened bills. "Hey Luke. Just checking in. Dad's asking about you. Are the kids all right?" Then Grace. Her voice, scattered and distant. "We've got some things going on. Could use a quick call." By Friday, Mara sent a text. Not even a call. "FYI, Caleb's in some trouble. Can you swing by?" Trouble. That's what they called it when Caleb drained 15 grand from Henry's retirement chasing a crypto pipe dream. Trouble, when the mortgage defaulted and the bank came knocking. Foreclosure taped to the front door like a scarlet letter. They didn't reach out to make things right. They reached out because the glass was cracking, and they needed my hands again. Nora showed up without warning. A brown bag of bagels in hand, eyes dull with exhaustion. "It's bad, Luke," she said, pacing my tiny kitchen. "Caleb screwed up. Mom and Dad can't clean it up alone. They need you." I leaned against the counter. My phone blinked with unread messages. "They need me," I repeated, the words tasting like metal. But where were they when I did? When Sophie was sick. When I worked through the night to cover both daycare and hospital bills. When Theo asked why his grandparents never called. Nora looked down, twisting the paper bag's handle in her hands. "They're family," she whispered. "You've always been the one to fix things." I shook my head. "I'm not the architect anymore." That night, I found Sophie fast asleep in my bed, her body small and warm, curled beside mine. Theo was stretched out on the couch, a book resting across his chest. On the fridge, a drawing Sophie had made was pinned beneath a magnet. 3 stick figures. Me. Her. Theo. A crooked sun above. No one else. No gaps. Nothing missing. I used to think love meant taking on everyone's weight, like a bridge holding up traffic no matter how heavy. But now, I know better. Love is choosing who to build with. And I choose them, my children, my center, my unshakable little world. And that's enough. The calls eventually stopped. The house was sold. The family drifted like dry leaves in the wind. I don't know where they landed. I hope they're okay. But I'm not turning around to check. I've got Sophie's laughter and Theo's quiet strength right here, and together, we're building something no one can break. If this story struck a chord, if you've ever been the foundation someone else stood on while you crumbled, leave a comment. Tell your story. Let's build something real.